Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back, dear learners. In this course on architectural thesis, my name is Dr. Vishal Chettry and I am working as an assistant professor in the Department of Architecture, Planning and Design at IIT Varanasi. So in this particular presentation, we will focus on the details about the sheet preparation and its different aspects related to sheet preparation techniques. So in this particular lecture, as we have covered in the previous presentation the details about sheet preparation and layout techniques, so here we will focus on how we can use figures, charts and text to effectively communicate our design ideas in the sheets or reports that we prepare for as architectural submissions for thesis. So in this we will first start with the recap of what we have learnt in the previous presentation, then we will focus on the effective use of figures, charts and text in design communication, integrate the diagrams, infographics and flow charts to support the narratives of the design narratives. So annotating plans, sections and illustrations with clarity, that will be covered along with the details about typography, color schemes for visual clarity and professionalism. So how we can balance visuals with explanatory text, that will be also discussed, and at the end we will try to identify key takeaways of this presentation along with some wrap up activities and the topics that will be covered in the next presentation. So to give you a recap of what we have covered in the previous presentation, that was related to sheet composition. So the principles of sheet composition and layout design was discussed, which helps in establishing the foundation for effective presentation. Understanding the hierarchy, balance, alignment and rhythm was also discussed, which ensures that there is visual coherence and clarity in the design. So strategies for organizing drawings, text and graphics helps in optimizing communication of ideas. Visual storytelling across multiple sheets creates a cohesive narrative within the design that we have completed. So some common mistakes and layout do's and don'ts was also presented in the previous discussion, so that you do not repeat these mistakes in your sheets when you prepare it for architectural thesis submission. So now let us look one by one. The first aspect to be noted is about figures. So it refers to the graphical representation, images or visual elements that are used to express the design ideas. So in case of figures, there are multiple set of drawings that are used. So first is human figure, symbolic figure, gestural figure and the proportional figures. So to understand the type of figures one by one, we will first look into the human figures. What are they? They are just show scale, movement and activity. So if you have a set of drawings that you have prepared, so if you could show the human figure over here, so one can understand the scale, the movement and the different activity that may occur in that particular space. So next is symbolic figure. They are used as icons for toilets, lifts, parking of furniture. They are generally showcased in elevation or in sectional drawings. Then there are gestural figures. They are stylized sketches indicating posture, emotion and atmosphere. Then there are also proportional figures like the modular man that was designed by Le Corbusier, and we can use the similar figures in our drawings to present an idea about the scale reference. So the other visual aspect that we often see in the sheets are the charts. So charts are basically used as a visual tool that organizes information into a structure of a quantitative form, making it easier to read, compare and analyze. So instead of writing a text or a paragraph about the quantitative data, if you try to showcase the same information through charts, a different form of charts, one can easily visualize the difference between different context that is mentioned in the chart. So in case of preparing the charts, there are different type of chart that is generally observed in the sheets. So first is pie chart, then bar charts, line charts and the stack charts. So pie charts are ideal for showing percentages like land use or space allocation or even the area programming that you do within the project. Bar charts are used to compare categories, like example the material cost, population density or program distribution within the site, or how the demography has changed over the years, or what changes have observed within the study area. So it is used generally to show the temporal studies or temporal changes that have happened in the study or the literature review that you have completed. So these informations are required mostly in your few initial sheets like introduction or case study or the detailed literature review. Then line charts, this shows the trend, that is that generally it is used to showcase the temperature data, daylight hours or energy usage, that all this climatic data that you collect for your study. Then next is stack charts. These are used for cumulative data, such as you can showcase the details about phased construction or material composition that you use within the site, or even to showcase other relevant details in your case study or in your data collection that you have done. So to understand now the importance of text and how it is to be represented, in what different forms does text appear in your sheet. So what is text actually? It refers to the written component that conveys the names, description or explanation or even the annotation to the technical drawings that you prepare. So good architectural text should be short, factual and descriptive, as it is shown here in the image, that only the enough description about the project is being discussed. The key titles of the drawing are highlighted and there is a particular order in which the text is written. So the main highlight within the sheet among the text is the title of the drawing. So it is highlighted in this huge text size. Thereafter the other subheadings that are used, such as these text that are used in the sheet. So this is what should be the order of adding text in the sheet. So the titles or the main concept should be highlighted with larger text, then the subtitles should be written in the another next size should be adopted for the subtitles, then the labels, and then the smallest font size should be used for the notes, which actually provides a detailed explanation to that particular aspect that we are highlighting. So in case of diagrams that we use, so it refers to the graphic tools that reduces complex information into a clear, abstract and visual form. It highlights the relationships and even the flows or concept in the design. So what are the types of diagram that we see in the presentation? First is concept diagram, zoning diagram, circulation diagram, structural diagrams and the environmental diagram. So these are different set of diagrams that are observed in the architectural sheets. So now let us look into all of these typologies in detail. So concept diagram, so these are images that actually showcase the conceptual idea for the project. So it is generally in the form of few sketches, or it may be hand drawn sketches that one can scan and then paste in the sheet. So then next is zoning diagram. So in this we try to showcase different zones that are applicable for the specific projects, and how are they aligned, or how are they stacked in the site, or how are they composed within the floor plan. So that is actually represented through zoning diagram. Then next is the circulation diagram, so that represents the movement that we have discussed earlier, the vehicular movement as well as the pedestrian movement within the site. So that is being showcased through circulation diagram. Then next is structural diagram, so the load transfer that is happening within the site, so how it is actually done in the site is represented through the structural diagram. So here the type of drawing that it includes are the column layout, how are beam and slab designed within the site, so all the technical drawings related to plinth beam or even the foundation, so these can be represented through the structural diagrams. Then environmental diagrams like wind path that is there in the particular site, so from which direction does the prevailing wind direction is observed throughout the year, so that can be highlighted through that environmental diagram, or even the sun path within the site, or if there is any shading strategies that can be adopted. So these informations are shown through the environmental diagram in the site. Then there are other diagrams or graphics that are observed in the drawings, that is infographics. So it refers to the combination of visual, text and data. It communicates with data storytelling. So use of infographics is generally observed in site analysis, where you represent sun path through the sun, and then you show the tentative direction of the sun, so in this order. So you represent the movement of sun is happening in this direction, so what is the movement during summer season and what is the movement during winter season. So all this is represented through the sun path diagram. And then we also showcase the movement of wind pattern in the diagram, so which is the probable major direction from where the wind or the cool breeze during summer is received, and from where the harsh winter winds are actually there in this are present, from the direction, from which direction in the site. So these are all can be highlighted using infographics. Design concept explanation, so if you have any concept for your project, so that also is generally highlighted through infographics along with data presentation. So the data that is used here can also be presented in the form of the infographics along with the workflow. So the methodology chart is basically presented using the infographics that is used to highlight the stages of the different set of work that is completed for the project. So looking into the flow charts, so these are diagrams that shows the sequence of steps, decisions or process which is very clear, linear or branching in visual format. So this is represented through the flow chart, and even through flow chart we try to also highlight the methodology that is adopted in the site in the project. So users of flow charts are generally to explain the design process. So what is the methodology, explaining building operations. So how does HVAC system function in the site, so probably that can be represented through a flow chart, and then explaining the phases of design. So if you have multiple phases in your master plan, so that also can be highlighted through the flow chart in your sheets. The next aspect to think of when you start composing your drawings in a sheet format is about the annotation. So these are architect's voice inside the drawing, because as already mentioned, your drawings has to be self-explanatory. So to make your drawings self-explanatory, you require some text in the form of annotation. So these annotations are as per the protocols that are followed for sheet presentation. So the golden principles includes having precision in the annotation. Each note must reveal something very critical. Brevity, that is 5 words are better than 20. So use reduce the number of words in the drawing and use words which could justify the large paragraphs very easily. Its consistency, use same style of letters, arrows and fonts in your entire drawing. Legibility, that is minimum 8 to 10 point size on printed drawings should be generally referred for the sheets, for the printing of sheets. Then in case of annotating the plan, the function of spaces has to be highlighted. So what is exactly happening in that space? For example, if you are designing a residence, so what are different spaces meant for? So that has to be labeled. So the function of space has to be highlighted, the dimensions has to be highlighted, so that one can understand whether the space that you have visualized can perform the set of activities or not. So that is why dimensions are essential as shown here in all the in the drawings. Then the labeling that is done here, material indication. So tentatively, by using hatching, you can showcase whether you have used bricks or stones for the construction of walls. And then circulation notes, that is the movement within the site can be highlighted. For example, if this is your main entrance, so you can highlight it by arrow and write it here itself, main entry. Likewise, for other, if you have a site, then also there you can also highlight the entrance to the you can write entrance over there to highlight from where does the vehicle or the people enter inside the site. So that can be highlighted. So in case of section or in elevation, we try to show the vertical relationship. So we try to label the materials that is used and different spaces and its uses, and also along with that we have to showcase the environmental responses. So if there is any interesting features that you have used for to enhance the comfort of the user, like ventilation shaft or stack effect, or even how you have allowed the sunlight to enter into the building, so that can be highlighted through annotating using proper symbols in your drawing. So structural principles like load transfer, floor thickness, all these details are represented. So you can write it here itself, what is the thickness of floor, what is the thickness of beam that is used, what is the thickness of wall that is being used in the drawing. So this can be labeled and showcased in the drawings. So next is illustration. So how you illustrate your drawing. So rendering should be annotated to guide non-architects. So there may be few few viewers of your thesis sheets who may not be from architectural background. So for them to understand your illustration, that is the rendering that you do, will help them understand and visualize the drawings more effectively. So this is why rendering helps in communicating the idea to non-architects with clarity, and they can visualize the material that is used or the different aspects of the project with clarity. The next is typography. So it refers to the art and technique of arranging text within the site. It should be readable and aesthetically aligned. It is the tone of the design voice that is there in the sheets. So what are different elements of typography that has to be focused? So the first is the font. So that is the font style that is that you use. It should not be such that it overpowers or it shadows the drawing that you have used. So your font should be a very formal style of font that you should use, so that it doesn't overpower the drawing or it doesn't attracts the attention more than the drawings that you have prepared. The font size, it should be in a particular order or in a particular hierarchy as discussed. The main title of the drawing should be in larger font than the other fonts like subtitles or subheadings or the notes that you have written. Then next is weight. So which font has to be bold and which has to be used in regular or in italics. So that also should be understood, and as per the importance of the text in the drawing, so decisions has to be taken in that order. So style, so it represents whether which part of text you want to uppercase or you want to lowercase or you want to use italics. So these decisions depends on the importance of the text in the drawing. So likewise the decision has to be taken. Spacing, line spacing has to be there so that the readability is increased. So accordingly letter spacing has to be thought of as per the requirement in the sheets. To highlight the importance of the particular drawing, you can decide on line spacing and letter spacing so that the composition within the sheet is in a very proper order. Along with that, you also have to focus on the alignment, whether your text or the drawings are left aligned, or it is right aligned, or it is centered, or it has to be justified. So the decision is completely based on how you want to communicate the drawings and the information about the project to the examiner. So it completely depends on the each and every person's taste, but these informations or these elements of typography has to be well thought of before you finalize the sheets for printing. Then the color scheme that should be that has to be focused. So you should organize the combination of colors that ensures the design feels cohesive, readable, and visually it has to be appealing. The functional uses includes categorical, that is different colors for functions can be used. For example, if you are highlighting all the corridors in the space, so a particular color can be denoted to highlight all the corridors or all such spaces within the floor plan. And if you want to highlight typical spaces that is very common within the building, for example, if you have designed a mall, then all the shops or all the or all the boutiques that are there within the mall can be highlighted through a particular color. And if there is a restaurant that you have designed, and that can, where all the eateries or food courts are planned, so these all can be highlighted using one color code. So that actually gives the examiner or the person who will be looking into your sheets will give a clarity, and the person will be able to understand and visually get connected with the drawing. And one always need not look for text to understand what is this space meant for, and also try to look into those details. So if you have a color code, or if you are using a color scheme, so that depicts the details more clearly. Then next is sequential. So gradient from light to dark for hierarchy can be used. Contrast, to create contrast, you can highlight focus points with very warm colors like red for circulation, or you can use gray for background to highlight these different aspects in your sheets. Then you can also use some professional color palettes, like using neutral bases, white, gray or beige with one or two accent colors within the sheet. Avoid oversaturation, or else it will make your work, it will not make your work a professional submission at the end of your thesis. So there is also a need to balance visuals and explanatory text. So why is there a need to balance? Because if you have too much of text, as shown here in the image, in the first image, so this brings monotony in the sheets. So it actually increases fatigue, and this deviates the attention of the examiner, and the examiner will lose attention into your into the work that you are presenting. So your sheet should actually be a combination of text and combination of visuals. So if you just have visuals in your sheet, and at times if the explanation you are not able to give a sufficient explanation to the sheet, but still the written content is there, so that can help you in describing the particular content of or explain the drawings in detail. So there has to be a perfect balance between the text and the images, as shown here in the third image. So you can follow this approach so that the sheet is composed in a much better order. Then next is that balancing should ensure that neither visuals nor text overwhelms. The rule of balance is generally that 65% there has to be visual and 35% it has to be text. So as seen here, there is too much of text in the sheet, so that actually overpowers the visuals that you have added. And the next, your image is such huge that the text that you have written gets overwhelmed in this case. But in the third image, as shown here, there is a proper balance of both the text and the image in this case, and it is communicated very effectively. So to conclude this presentation, we can it can be summarized that the effective use of figures, charts and text strengthens design communication by visually clarifying complex information and supporting the narrative. So if you integrate diagrams, infographics and flowcharts, it will help you in organizing and presenting the data logically and making the design story much easier to follow. So also you have to use clear annotation in your drawings so that a standard or specific protocol is followed, and every person who is involved in the construction or in executing that drawing is actually very clear with the annotations. Thoughtful use of typography and color scheme enhances visual clarity, professionalism and overall readability of the presentation materials. Balancing visuals with explanatory text ensures communication is comprehensive, engaging and accessible to the diverse audiences. So these are some activities that you can perform at the end of this presentation. So you can also you can think of what is the preferred way to explain an idea. Is it words or visuals? You can also look into some past examples or past sheet layout that you have prepared for architectural design submissions and understand how, in which type of composition is your idea presented to the examiner very clearly. How does the flow chart helps you tell a story better than just the text? You can think on these aspects, which is more powerful, a strong image or a clear sentence. So that also is essential to understand, and these understanding about the sheet layout or sheet composition will help you in communicating your design idea in an effective way to the examiner. Then these are some resources which you can refer for your further readings, and in our next presentation we will discuss about the physical models and the details like the types, scales and effective presentation methods, some conceptual site and detail models. So what are the materials that are generally used and how you can prepare these models? So what are different materials that are available for model making, what are different model making techniques, displaying and photographing models. So how you display during the presentation and how it is to be photographed so that it can be added in your report. So that these details will be discussed in your next presentation. So I hope this information about the presenting all the figures, annotation, text in the drawing will help you in making justified use of the sheets so that your ideas are effectively communicated to the any person who will review your work or will just refer your work in future. So with this I'd like to conclude here, and thank you for your patience listening, and we'll see you in the next presentation, which will be based on the physical model details.